evening, I'm Pratapsinh Gaekwad and welcome to another episode of the Buggy Khana. This evening we come to you from the grounds at the Grand Hyatt and it's the modern classic car rally. So, Perseus, welcome to the Buggy Khana.
Always a pleasure to be on Buggy
Brilliant.
Khana. Hi.
You know, another great event
Thank you so
from
much.
you. You know, the curator of the Mercedes-Benz Classic Car Rally, which is a phenomenal success.
Thank you.
And I think this is another event now that you have sort of taken up very closely.
Yes, yeah. So this is actually a soft spot for me, the modern classics, especially cars from the early 70s or the late 60s. Right till 2015, 16 or even 2020 with some cars.
Correct.
So I think this is really what I love.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason I love cars, these cars.
Yeah.
So I'm just very happy that we could get a movement like this in place and then have a rally to promote the movement. So that's the idea of doing this.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, even for me, this is the sweet spot. You know,
Great.
I mean, there is vintage cars, there is classic.
Yes.
But I feel that these are the most sort of practical cars.
Absolutely.
You get all the creature comforts.
Absolutely.
You get all the performance, you get the noise,
Yes.
and you get the looks. I mean, just look at what we're...
And what also separates these cars, Pratap, from the traditional supercars of the late 2000s is that electronics and mechanical engineering comes together in these cars to make them nicer to drive.
Correct.
Unlike the electronics becoming nannies in the later cars.
Completely sort of taken over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is really, in my opinion, the golden age of driving. They say the golden age of motoring, but I say the golden age of driving is modern classics. If you love driving,
Absolutely.
you have to just be at the show with these cars.
Absolutely right. So, I mean, just starting with, I mean, look at the names. It's like the who's who of sports cars. I mean, the Corvette, again, iconic shape. A shape that sort of has its DNA going all the way up the ladder. Another very famous car. I mean, I remember when this was launched. I mean, it was just, the design was something quite phenomenal. The engine.
Yeah, largest engine in a sports car at its time. Yeah. And this one is even more special because this is tuned by Haman.
Right, okay.
So this is the bored out version of what was already the largest engine in a sports car at its time.
Right.
Right until the Veyron, 8 liters.
Correct.
So it's unbelievable.
I'm not surprised. I mean, when you see the ownership of this car, one had to do something to it, I guess.
Absolutely.
Another, this is a Trans Am, right?
Yeah. It's making its show debut.
Yeah.
It's Gautam Singhania's and absolutely impeccable condition.
Yeah.
Icon.
Another, I mean, this is got to be one of my favorites. Again, belongs to a very dear friend of ours.
Yes, we
Joey.
really miss him today.
And yeah, we miss him. But, I mean, everything about this car, the spec, I've gone into detail on this in a previous episode, but absolutely love it.
Yeah. And this car really was the first 9-second street car, in the world. The R33.
Right.
And this is again the GTR, not the GTT.
Correct.
So, this is really the holy grail of the GTR. So, absolutely.
So again, I came very close to owning one.
Right.
I think it was the R35.
Okay.
Which is the iconic one.
This one. That's the R35.
No, the one before this. Then.
Okay.
The R34.
34. Okay.
The R34.
The Paul Walker car.
The Paul Walker car.
Absolutely.
So there was a blue one.
Right.
And I had it for about a week.
Okay.
And at the same time, I had a Porsche 993. So I had to take a decision. And
wow.
At that point of time, I decided to go with the Porsche.
Of course.
But I had the pleasure of having it for a week and it was quite a phenomenal car.
Unbelievable.
NSX, Ayrton Senna.
Personally,
jeans.
one of my all-time favorite cars.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is an early example, no power steering. And, Pratap, this was the car that reinvented the supercar. Because when this car came out in the late 80s, early 90s, supercars were known to break down and were supposed to be used only on the weekends.
Correct.
This was the world's first everyday use supercar.
Yeah.
And even today, it's so reliable and usable. You know, I mean, the visibility outside the cockpit. It's unlike any supercar even today.
Yeah.
And of course.
So it brought the reliability angle.
Absolutely.
It brought the comfort angle, because in those days, if you drove a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, again, they were very difficult.
Absolutely.
You know, the clutch was hard, the gear shifters were hard, the steering wheel was hard. Whereas when you got into this, it was like, it wasn't that well received initially.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, as
today
time,
they're like timeless, and you know, the whole Ayrton Senna name attached to it, it just makes it what it is.
Absolutely. From Mercedes stable, you know, again, you know, a lot of these cars, and that's why I call this a sort of a sweet spot for me, because I've got such fond memories going back.
Oh, you had one of these too?
No, I didn't, but a very dear friend of mine, Leah, she had a maroon 500 SL in 1990.
In India?
In India.
Wow.
The first one that was there.
Wow.
I'm not sure whether it was on CarNet, but it was the first one, and I remember seeing that car on the streets.
500 SL in India.
And you know, you saw all the other cars, and this was like
a UFO.
It was something amazing. The features it had, you know, the hard top, soft top, it had that safety bar that used to come up, things that were unheard of.
And you know, Pratap, this is the car which really started the young timer movement globally.
Right.
I mean, you know, this was the iconic SL to collect. And even today, I think it's the backbone of the whole young timer movement in Germany, or the modern classic movement. It really kicked off with this car, you know. So I think this is really historical and the car to have, I guess, in the 90s. If you...
I mean, it changed again Mercedes. I mean, the technology that came.
Absolutely.
And in those days, this was the car that the Formula One drivers wanted to be seen in.
Absolutely.
Was the 500 SL.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
So this is the Mondial.
Right.
I mean, globally not so well loved, I would say. But again, to have this in India, very rare, in a nice spec.
Yeah, and I mean, just to have a, you know, have a 80s Ferrari in India, it deserves a sweet spot. And also historically, last Ferrari with a mid-engine and a 2+2.
Right.
So, you know, again, configuration-wise, I don't think they'll ever make a engined Ferrari with a 2+2 again mid-engine. So again, you know, quite a historic car. No introduction, you say.
Yeah, I mean, very special 993 Porsche. Now again, something very close to my heart, because I had one.
Wow.
Mine was, I'm not sure whether it was, I can't remember whether it was right or left-hand drive, but it was a manual.
Wow.
One thing I'll never forget, it didn't have an air conditioner. So driving on Marine Drive, I remember just profusely sweating, but driving this car.
And the iconic bucket Porsche seats.
Yeah, I mean, seats, the whale tail, you know, again, to see that car, when I had it, you know, on the road, it had a different presence altogether.
And Pratap, again, you know, last air-cooled 911. So,
no, I mean, these are, very, very sought after now.
Absolutely.
Even globally.
Complete halo car.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a good, as you call them, star cars.
Yeah, the front row.
To set the mood
off.
Get
you excited. Amazing.
Now again, the muscle cars, you know, these are something that have been very popular in India.
Right.
You know, the Mustang, etc. Muscle cars were something that were always very sought after.
Absolutely aspirational.
I think the premiums that Indian buyers or the Indian market pays for these cars is tremendous.
And probably highest in the world, you think?
100%. I mean, for sure. So Perseus, the American section, and obviously it's all muscle. And size and volume, as one can see. I mean, these are all very comfortable cars back in the day. But, you know, if we start with this one here, which is quite a beast from what one can see. I mean, originally a big car, but I think they've done a bit to the engine and stuff.
So it's been modified, runs 600 horsepower with a supercharger.
Right.
Again, you know, some of the work on the car is done by Chip Foose, like the wheels.
Right.
And the paint scheme design and it's very iconic. CUDA. You know,
I mean, the shape is just, I mean, I just love the shape.
Absolutely.
Must make quite a good noise.
Oh yes,
with that
absolutely. It
engine.
sounds amazing, and it's resto modded. It's right-hand drive, and even has Apple
yeah, it's
CarPlay.
right-hand drive. Yeah.
Very practical.
Very practical.
Daily runner.
Yeah.
With 600 horsepower.
Mere 600.
Right.
So these are again the muscle cars.
Right.
The full section. You've got all of them. Actually, all the iconic ones.
Yeah.
So this is the Camaro.
Yeah.
But this one is again of a lot of interest to me because
Right.
I have a similar Mustang Mach-1, but mine is a coupe version
Right.
of this.
And this car was driven in a very famous movie by Amitabh Bachchan. You know, again belongs to our friend Mr. Goenka.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as you can see, you know, immaculate condition. So Mr.
Immaculate
Goenka.
condition and only a paint scheme that Mr. Goenka would have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, another one which is absolutely gorgeous. You know, the fastback.
Absolutely.
You know-
Everyone's favorite. You know, 69 Fastback is just everybody's favorite car.
Correct.
And I think this is probably the best example in the country also.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, he spec'd it out extremely well, right? Look at the
Absolutely.
blue, the stripe, the big,
Yeah.
big fat tires on it.
Really.
And I'm sure it's got the sound too.
Oh yeah, we can't wait to drive it tomorrow, you know, with the sound and, you know, imagine all these cars going for a drive tomorrow
It's going to be
morning.
quite something.
It will be something.
So another Nova, which are again famous for doing this too, right?
Right.
To modifying them and
Yeah,
putting massive
yeah.
engines.
Massive intakes and again, you know, again a modded car, but
Yeah.
you know, an absolute classic. You know, I believe this is one of the most popular street racing cars right now in the US.
Yeah.
You know, so again, extremely desirable.
Correct.
Then, of course, no introduction.
No
Gautam.
introduction. Again, but this is the body style is exactly the same as the one I have.
Oh, yeah, actually, yes.
But obviously,
Yeah, big block,
The engine.
supercharged. It just sounds like,
right.
you know, it just sounds great, and it can move mountains with the sound, literally.
Now this one I like because it's so original,
Absolutely.
right? That's the difference about it. Again,
Yeah. And the iconic spinning headlights, you know,
Yeah.
they spin open, which
Yeah.
is something we should see tomorrow when Jimmy
Correct.
starts the car.
Yeah.
And again, I think the car made famous by Vin Diesel,
Right.
the Charger also.
Right, right. But that was slightly different shape, but
Yeah.
same brand. Another iconic car and even iconic from the movies.
Yeah.
You know, Smokey and the Bandit.
Absolutely. And the eagle on the hood.
Yeah.
You know, this is exactly what thousands of Hot Wheels cars are all about,
Yeah.
you know, with this Trans Am with the eagle on the hood.
Correct.
So,
Again, I love this. I mean, I've always loved this shape, and also, you know, with the decals, the eagle.
right.
Only thing missing on this one, if I had to spec it, would be the T-bars.
Okay.
That would, you know,
Right.
sort of come off.
Yeah.
That would just finish
That
it
would
off.
just look extremely iconic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Pontiac Firebird.
Yeah.
And of course, Z28.
Yeah.
You know this car
Yeah.
as well as anyone else.
So waiting for the owner to arrive.
oh yeah,
maybe
he's
later.
good. He has promised to arrive and start it for us.
Yeah.
And
great.
so it's nice to have two Camaros at this show, I think.
Yeah.
So great.
So Perseus, another very special car, but I'd need you to sort of educate me on this because it's got history also behind this.
Yeah, so this is what they call Formula 5000.
Right.
It was developed by John Surtees, and an identical car, or probably this car, had raced in the Luxembourg Grand Prix in 1972 and won it. In the late 70s, the car was bought by Himanshu's uncle, and he brought it to India, and he used to race it at Sholavaram and other tracks in India.
Right.
And at that time, Formula 5000s and Formula 1 cars also raced together. But the Formula 1 cars, I believe, at least in Europe, used to run on restrictors.
Got it.
So, but this car had raced against Vijay Mallya in his Formula 1 car back in the day. So it's an extremely iconic car.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only one of its kind in India.
Yeah. I mean, just the images of Vijay Mallya and his and this one racing in those days, you know, when
Indian Open class, or they call it.
It would have been quite spectacular.
Yeah.
But brilliant, you know, to have a car like this
In
right
India,
here,
right
in front of us at your event. Brilliant. So Perseus, these three cars are extremely iconic, you know, rally history. They've been raced a lot. And again, for me, they have a very sort of a personal relationship, which I'll explain to you. But the Ford RS.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, a brilliant car.
Right.
These are great fun to drive.
Right.
And again, back in the day, in 1991, I think, or 92, I had with the tail on the back, the hatchback.
Wow.
That was, I think, the predecessor to this car.
Okay. So you're an Escort RS?
Escort.
Oh, wow.
Escort Cosworth RS.
In India?
In India.
Oh, yes, the same car which is doing the rounds now in, there is one in Bombay, but it's off the road, right?
Yeah, it's totally off the road, but that was my car.
Okay. Originally yellow?
No, originally white.
Okay.
And then it was sold, and then whoever bought it painted it yellow, but that was a original white car.
Wow.
I remember I changed the exhaust and stuff, but it was immaculate when I had it, and then
Stunning car.
Sold
Stunning
and
car.
Moved on.
But you know, this was actually the only one of the what they call Holy Trinity, which was the front wheel drive.
Yeah.
Because the Evo and the Subaru were four-wheel drive.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
but nonetheless, they all have great, you know, driving dynamics, great fun. The noise is great. Amazing 0 to 60 timing.
Really.
Again, Subaru. This one belongs to our dear friend Joey again. Yes. I mean, Subarus are amazing. And
everyone's favorite.
Everyone's favorite. Again, I have a personal connection because I had a WRX STI.
Wow.
Similar blue color, gold wheels, the big spoiler at the back. And
it must have been quite a car.
It was quite a car. I used to race up and down Marine Drive. And whenever we went to play golf in Ambi Valley, you know, that road from Lonavala to Ambi Valley, I used to thoroughly enjoy myself.
And this must have been when the expressway had just started many years ago.
Yeah, I don't know whether the expressway had even possibly started at that time. It might not have, I can't quite remember. But that road, that stretch was definitely there. Okay. And that was brilliant. And this was the competitor car to the Subaru.
Absolutely.
And I think in India they did introduce, but I think they introduced
later cars.
The automatic versions,
right,
I think.
And the Evo 7s and 8s. This is that was, I think the 9s came to India if I'm not wrong.
Right.
But this is an Evo 7.
Yeah.
So really the first of this shape.
Correct.
And you know, absolutely legendary. Tommy Mackinnon drove one. So
correct. So there used to be a white one which belonged to Kunal Kapoor.
That's the previous shape, the Evo 6.
The previous shape. So that was a similar shape to my Subaru.
Okay.
But I remember that used to be there. They used to be driving around at that time.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Again, I think that Evo 6 was just legendary with, I think, Tommy just winning every championship with the 4, 5s and 6s.
No, all these cars were amazing. I mean, they were, like I said, they were so much fun to drive.
Absolutely.
And they had a pretty much of a sort of a cult following, which has built up over years.
I think they still have.
Yeah,
honest. And you know, I mean, when you look back at them, you know, 20 years ago, imagine having these four-wheel drive, super fast sedans. It must be quite something to own them back in the day.
No, correct. So Perseus, another spectacular group that you put together.
Thank you.
So if you could lead the way and take us through this.
So the last 3 cars are Ferraris, but they're not just regular Ferraris, they are special edition Ferraris.
Right.
So this again is a 488 Pista right-hand drive Spider. So
Yeah.
absolutely rare car.
Yeah.
So it's probably the newest car in the show.
Right.
But again, one of the rarest cars in the world you can buy.
Correct. Very difficult to get your hands on this.
Absolutely. This is now the holy grail of the supercar
Yeah.
world. Again, Aperta, right-hand drive, Speciale. I believe in the last few auctions globally,
Yeah, they're
they've
going
gone to over 1 million.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of this one.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the Aperta just makes it that much more special. I mean, for me,
Absolutely.
I'd take the regular coupe any day as well. But this is
This is just
extremely special.
Everyone's dream car.
Yeah.
You know, the dream Ferrari
Yeah.
to have. This again, we really miss Joey, but again, Joey with his Scuderia 430.
Correct. So this was apparently the first special edition Ferrari that came into India.
Yes.
So, you know, again, for the India history as well, it's a special car. And again, even globally now,
Right.
this is getting much more recognized.
And these are the last 3 of the ICE Ferraris,
Yeah.
you know, before they got any sort of battery assist.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last 3 of them with special editions. So this is what really is, you know, holy grail of modern classics or contemporary classics as we
Absolutely.
call it. Again, very special. Superleggera, I'm sure you love this
Yeah,
car.
yeah, I
Did you
love
have
it.
a Lamborghini ever?
I had one, but I had a Countach.
Oh wow, in London.
In 25th anniversary.
Oh my God, wow.
So that was a special car, but again, you know, very difficult to drive. When you compare
Right.
with these cars, they're so easy.
Right.
But that's what made it special. You know, it was tough.
And
Once,
that's silhouette, you know.
No, I mean it's still. I mean, you see a Countach still, and
Absolutely.
it's just iconic.
Yeah.
But these now, for example, the Galados.
Yeah.
I was never a fan when they came out, and I was actually never a fan for a long time. But now, I'm sort of
Right.
looking at these,
Yeah.
and I'm finding them quite interesting.
Absolutely. First, what they call German-influenced Lamborghinis.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is again Superleggera, so very special. You know, not
Correct.
just.
So this was the first time they sort of downsized it in a bit, because again earlier it was the Countach, then I think it was the Diablo.
Right.
They went, and then, you know, when like you said, the Germans sort of came into it,
Yeah.
they sort of took it down, and then things changed a bit for
Yeah.
a while. But now looking back on this, I mean, it's a very special car. I love it. Needs no introduction.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've
The
come
OG
close to this.
supercar
Yeah.
modern classic.
Yeah.
The first supercar modern classic, as we call it in contemporary times.
Yeah.
And I think Pratap, you've driven a lot of them.
Yeah, I've driven this a lot. I had this for some time as well and thoroughly enjoyed it. And obviously, it's the doors. You know, I mean, the engine is brilliant, handling, everything's good, but just.
And the sound.
Yeah, the sound. But the doors just, you know, it's the icing on the cake. The
Can
minute
we
you just
have one in
put it
the
up.
Buggy Khana collection soon, hopefully?
Well, if one can get hold of it, you know, they're so elusive now in this market.
I know.
Very difficult to get hold of one, but definitely very
I would
sought
love
after.
to see you drive into MVCCR with one. So it would be amazing.
Drop head, again, you know,
Yeah.
these have become timeless now. You go anywhere, you go to Saint-Tropez, you go to Monaco,
Yeah.
you still see these ones moving around as, you know,
On a yacht.
on a yacht, around a yacht.
Yeah.
So still very sought after, great fun to drive. The
And right hand
size.
drive.
Yeah.
This
the
one's
size.
right hand drive, so very rare again.
Correct.
And yeah, I think one of the best looking modern
Yeah.
Rolls Royces.
Yeah. And it's just the sheer size of it, right? The presence.
Yeah.
The road presence that these have is quite spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely special car.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Perseus. I mean, you've really put together something very special.
Thank you.
I hope we can look forward to this every year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I hope Buggy Khana is on board on a more permanent basis on supporting the modern classic movement.
We're absolutely
And, of course, you are absolutely, you are a brand ambassador for modern classics in your own way. So I think we hope that shows like this can just promote the movement and encourage more young collectors collecting more young classics, as I say.
No, I think so. I mean, like I said, for me, this is actually the sweet spot because I drive my cars, and for me, every car here has got driving pleasure.
Right.
So thank you very much for today, and I look forward to the drive for tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you, Perseus.
Pleasure.
So I hope you guys enjoyed looking at all these gorgeous cars. Tomorrow's another day, but tomorrow we get to drive. So see you then.